So welcome to Airsports. In this episode we're going to be looking at how do we attach a tow bridle to the harness correctly. There's a couple of different ways of doing it. I've found one that suits me. It's not going to be the same for everybody, and of course some tow bridles are different from the one we're going to be looking at today. All you're going to need to do is adapt, and then you can fit the same one on yours or learn how to fit your own one correctly. So it's a nice day again. We're going to wander out into the field, have a look and see how it's done. So here we are outside, guys. I've DI'd my wing, daily inspected it, and if you want to know more about that, it's in a different episode. Have a check, see how you can DI your wing. So tow bridles, what are they, how do they work, how do we attach them? So what we have here is a tow bridle. Typical tow bridle has some malleons, you can see here, and these are finger tight. We can actually undo those with our fingers. We have a piece of material forming a loop, nicely stitched and secure. At the other end we have the same finger tight malleon and a loop of material. Okay, so that goes in there. We have some links going on. You can see 3 links. One goes all the way through, and 2 O-rings. See those there. Other thing we have is a line of plastic, pretty much like a strimmer cord. We'll be going into how those work in a moment and what it all means. The other thing we have is a loop of a cotton, more like a line that you're going to find on your glider, and that's quite important as well, and we'll be having a look at those as we lock this onto the harness in the correct manner. So I'm quite close to the harness. Locking these onto the harness in the correct manner proves quite difficult for some. There's a few different methods of doing it. I've found one that suits me. It's not the only method. If you've got a better one, use it. As long as the end result comes out exactly the same and the tension from the tow line through to your harness is applied in the same manner, how you attach it doesn't matter, whichever method you do, as long as the end result is exactly the same. Introducing tensions into the harness from the tow line in the wrong geometry can create potential damage, difficulties, hazards. And we're not going to have that. We don't want that. We want all the forces exerted to be in the right places, in the right geometry. So we're going to go close up and have a look at the carabiners. How do we join it in? Here we are at the harness. It's been checked, the wing's been checked, everything's been done. And for daily inspections, look at one of the other episodes in the series. And what we're going to do is come to the carabiner and the winch bridle. My way of doing it is really simple. Undo the malleon, remove the loop. Now I'm going to be removing my riser from the carabiner with my right hand. So I slip the loop over my right hand. Come to the carabiner, lift, rotate, open, and retain it open. As I take the riser from the carabiner, I allow the loop to fall over the riser, reattach and check. And you can now see that the loop is over the risers. Come back down to the carabiner with the loop. See, it hangs down to the outside of the harness. Come round the back, poke the loop through and continue to pull, and you can see that it locks the risers and it pulls to the outside. See how that goes, guys? Underneath, comes through and pulls to the outside. You can now reattach the tow bridle to the loop, finger tight, and that's one side done. To do the other side, exactly the same. Undo the malleon, remove the loop. Come across to the opposite carabiner. This time I'm going to be removing the carabiner with my left hand, moving the risers. I put the loop over my left wrist, lift open, remove the riser from the carabiner, let the loop fall over and reattach and check. The loop is over the risers now. I let it fall to the outside, push the loop through the carabiner, and you can see it comes through and locks the riser in place. All that remains now is to reattach the malleon. Make sure it's done up, guys, but only needs to be finger tight. And there we have the tow bridle attached to the harness. Simple as that. So, how do we get into the harness now we've got the tow bridle attached? You notice I've got the helmet on. Anytime you're in a harness with a wing attached to it, make sure you have your helmet on. Accidents occur at any time. We can't predict them, and that's why they are accidents. But we can prevent them. A little bit of forethought. So I'm right-handed. I stand beside the harness, reach across to the far shoulder, take the tow bridle, hold it out, step first one foot, then the other foot, and then lift the harness onto the shoulders, straight in, and you can see the bridle is now coming out inside. The risers are free and clear at each side, and then go through the normal buckling up process that you've done before. Again, previous episodes will give you details on that. Pre-flight inspection, pre-flight checks, how to buckle up into your harness correctly. Refer to that episode, guys. So here I am, buckled into the harness, controls in the hands. Anytime you're in a harness with a wing attached, then you can take your controls in your hands. You never know what's going to happen. So here's our tow bridle attached, and you can see we have the strimmer line. It's all hanging loose. That strimmer line follows the webbing of the bridle and goes through the malleon. Nice and simple. And then on the outside it doubles back, goes through the attachment point, the retainer on the bridle. So that's as much as we need until we have a tow line arrive for us, and then we need to attach that. Generally speaking, the launch marshal will be doing the attachment, At Airways Airsports, we're a British Hang Gliding and Paragliding Association school, and part of the training is that each of our students learns to become a launch marshal. So at some time during your course, guys, you're going to need to know how to do this. And if you become a tow pilot, it's nice to know that the person attaching you to the line is competent and is doing it correctly. So even if you never do this yourself, it's interesting to know how to do it to make sure the person who's attaching you is doing so correctly. So what we have here is the typical method of attaching. It's a large O-ring on a piece of webbing, followed by a leader rope, and then the rest of the tow line between you and the winch. As mentioned earlier, we have 2 rings and a hole through the middle to which it attaches. So, our leader with a large ring, let's see, that one goes through and then folds over. The smaller ring then lays over and comes through that one, and then lays over again. So I hope you can see that, guys. We have 3 rings in a circle, in a circus, 3 ring circus, 1, 2, 3. Then take the cotton line, thread it through so that it comes out at the back. The strimmer line now goes through the cotton and through the large O-ring. And there we are attached. Okay, so that's attached. Now I can pull that all day long and it's super strong. But to release, take one finger, place in the loop of the strimmer cord, don't grip it, and just slide it back, and we're now detached. That would be your detachment at the end of a flight if you're still attached to the line, or as the course progresses and you're attaching in the sky. Really simple. One finger, slide it towards you. So that's it, guys. That's how we attach to the glider, to the tow bridle, and to the tow line.